Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mike Rossetti. I'm Director of Sales for myLIBRO, and I'm joined today by Jessica Varang from Libraries of Stevens County out in Washington. Jessica, thanks for being with us today, and we're glad you're here. You want to give just a brief introduction, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your libraries there?
Sure. I am the Technology and Communications Manager for a rural library district. We have 7 branches and 1 station that's located in a leased corner of a country store. I also manage our Loon Lake Library, which is a fairly small library because it's a lake destination sort of place, summer destination rather than full-time residence. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much again for being here today, and we appreciate everybody in the audience. Just a couple housekeeping items. We are recording the session today, so if there's colleagues of yours that you would like to share this, or anybody that you know that couldn't join us today, we will be sending out this link, if not towards the end of the day today, at some point tomorrow, and you're welcome to share that with anybody that you would like. We also have the ability to ask questions in the chat feature, so if there's any questions that you'd like to ask us during the course of the call, please go ahead and just enter that into the chat, and we'll handle those as they come up and as we get the natural breaking points in the webinar. So just a couple of things, a little bit of background on myLIBRO. We have been on the market since about June of 2018, entered the library space at that point and started working with a number of libraries to, at that time, really bring voice technology to catalog search and start to look at ways that we could help from an ADA compliance standpoint. And so what we'll be talking today about is how some of that technology is helping as libraries are reopening. But we also want to open this up for questions that you may have and issues that you're facing. Obviously, different states are in different places, different parts of the world are in different places, and everything's changed so much these past 8 months. I think sharing experiences, hearing from other libraries that are going through similar type phases is going to be a big help to everybody. So we'll talk through just some of the COVID-19. I know we have a couple academic libraries on the call with us today too, so we'll talk a little bit about the academic side, but we'll also be just discussing in general how libraries are handling everything that they need to as we go through this. Next we'll move on to getting the most out of your ILS system and digital capabilities. We've heard a lot from libraries, especially in these past 8 months, and how much importance they've found in making things as easy for patrons and students as possible, working to improve their digital capabilities and their digital offerings. So even in times of full closure, there's lots of resources and materials available to their patrons. And also taking deeper steps now to making mobile first and looking for ways to bring some of this technology into the fold, even as they start to reopen, even as they start to look to 2021 and what's going to go on beyond the days of quarantine and COVID, as we start to get some resolve to the issues that we faced through these past 8 months. Real quick audience poll right now that we'll share, just so we get a good idea of what people are seeing in their libraries. If you could just let us know where you are in terms of reopening, whether it's completely closed, no access, or you're managing things more mobily. Just let us know how things are going there in terms of your reopening. That would be great. So we'll keep that open for a moment. What we're seeing right now in conversations that we've had, really several hundred conversations during the past 8 months especially, and the thing that we found talking to a lot of different librarians around the world is, I think people are finding how important libraries are right now. I think a lot of people already knew it. Others are finding out maybe how much they relied on libraries in their communities and missed those as they were closed or maybe are still closed. And so I think for librarians, it's really been a matter of trying to find ways to continue to stay relevant, but even more so show how important they are to their communities. And so I think what we're seeing now is there's just this huge need for libraries and communities, whether it's Wi-Fi or printing services or all those library services that were being offered pre-pandemic that are now being missed and that people are having to try to find answers to. So those questions have become really apparent. Jessica, just from your standpoint, what have you seen at your libraries? I believe your buildings are still physically closed, but maybe what are some of the things that you've heard from patrons?
We have it all. We're a fairly rural county district, like I said before, and we have patrons who don't believe that this is happening at all. That we have patrons who believe that we should be open no matter what, and we have patrons who say, "What are you? Don't open." We are all physically closed, and we just have curbside services. Sometimes that looks like a walk-up window. Sometimes that looks like a parking slot you are in, and materials are brought out to you. So there's been a lot of support for libraries, which I find fairly surprising during this time in my area of the world, but I'm glad for that. So
Great. So in terms of, we'll get more to this, Jessica, in a few minutes, but to the audience, we're curious how many people are using a mobile application to manage library services of any kind, whether they're curbside pickup or in-library services, or even a mobile app to check in on, or for patrons to check out materials, things like that. If you could let us know, yes or no, you're using a mobile application to manage some of these services. So what we're hearing during these conversations, like we said, it looks like of the people that are on the call, nobody's using mobile services. So we will talk a little bit more about that today, about how those are helping, some of the things that we've seen through myLIBRO, and I'll have Jessica talk a little bit about some of the impacts that it's had in her library as well. But as I mentioned earlier, obviously, we thought, I think a lot of us back in March, April thought that things would be changing, moving in a little bit different direction going into 2021. It's now looking like that may be pushed back in a lot of states even further than we all thought. So I think for a lot of our libraries that we work with, there's been this perception that things might never completely go back to the way they were before. I think in a lot of cases, people are looking at this and saying, we have to make adjustments, whether we continue to offer curbside even beyond the days of a vaccine being created and being publicly available, and what other kind of services are we going to need to schedule for to be able to monitor the number of people in the building, things like that as well. Jessica, in terms of some of the planning that you all have started to do, have any of those discussions happened yet?
Oh, for sure. We had hoped to open on November 9th, at least in a limited capacity, and we were not able to. Our health district actually called the week before and said, please, 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 our cases are rising, please don't open. And of course, we're looking to them for guidance, so we adhered to that. But it also means we have to get creative with other outreach services. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a pretty common thing that we've heard throughout this, I think, especially in the last couple of months, even with some of our university and then community college partners. A lot of those had reopened to start the fall. Some are pulling back now and looking at, virtual classes at least for the next 6 or 8 weeks, and then kind of reevaluating what they do in the spring. So I think even a lot of our colleges and universities are having to adjust plans on the fly and do things a little bit differently as things continue to progress. So just one more question of our audience. What are some of the things, as you all have moved through COVID and you've started to adjust to these measures, would you say your library needs the most? A way to control the internal capacity, contactless library services, increased library mobility, or AI-driven technology just to help with student or patron interaction with materials? And so as we move into our discussion today, and as we've talked to all of these libraries, I think some of the things you see here on the screen are things that libraries have had discussions, how will they handle these? And I think early in the days of us having our conversations with libraries back in April, May, June, people were starting to say, we're not sure how this curbside or how this contactless pickup is going to go. And you'll see from the poll that contactless pickups are still a big part of the plan, big part of the needs, as well as controlling the space for in-library services. So I think what we've heard in the last couple months is that a lot of these discussions have now evolved. I think it's moved beyond just curbside and contactless, and it started to move in the direction of, well, how are we going to adjust to this new normal, whatever that may be? Is it going to be more digital services? Are we going to find ways for more remote offerings and ways to kind of meet patrons where they are, which I know is something that's been talked about in the library space for quite a few years now. Jessica, in terms of some of the goals that you all have at Libraries of Stevens County, where are you in terms of that kind of progress planning, and how do you see maybe 2021 starting to shape up as we move through winter and maybe into the spring and summer?
Sure. The rural community, again, there's a lack of broadband access and tech access in general. Not every home has a smartphone. Not every home has a computer, of course. So we've been able to incorporate other distance programmings like Take and Make Crafts or online story time. But one of our biggest needs when our doors are closed is just helping patrons learn how to download a book, or helping someone navigate telemedicine, or having a student access Google Classroom. All of those are a big priority for us, and we're trying to meet those needs with laptops for parking lot use, or being able to pick up a print job within the library, and having to get kind of creative with that. And that's where myLIBRO's made all the difference for us, for sure.
Good. So you signed on with us back in, I believe, June or July, and you started curbside pickup in July. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk a little bit maybe to how, what the initial aspects of that implementation look like, and kind of how you helped your staff adjust to some of this new technology?
Sure. So we were one of the first TLC libraries to integrate our software, and there are plenty of questions from all sides, from myLIBRO, from us, from TLC. We met with support. We were able to talk about the logistics behind the scenes, but we were also able to convey things that we wanted and things we didn't wanted. And that myLIBRO did a great job of taking the time to listen to us and do lots of testing and authenticating to make sure that each of those steps was what a patron would expect or would logically flow through. And that's been really great. When we discovered that patrons couldn't make a curbside appointment without a hold being available, the team, Sharmila and the development team, they were very fast to address that and help us find a way around that and to integrate the printing option. Things like that. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's great. So I think in terms of those goals that you have accomplished, one of the things that we like to do here at myLIBRO is hear from all of our partners, and we really consider our libraries partners because you all have helped us to develop this solution throughout the course of the summer especially, and there's been huge strides taken to make sure that we're helping our partners both on the academic side and on the public library side. As you start to think about digital offerings next year and beyond, what are some of the things that maybe you would like to see accomplished that would help your staff and your patrons even more?
Sure. One thing that we're hoping to do, we just got a grant for 40 hotspot devices. So we'll be checking those out and they'll be able to go home. But another thing that we were granted was 18 laptops, and they will be just used in our parking lots. And that's a little bit harder to manage time-wise, but with the myLIBRO, it's going to be really great to be able to schedule those resources for people at their home libraries. And then if we are able to open in some capacity, even just 25% to 50% capacity, myLIBRO has integrated a way to book a computer for in-library use or make an appointment to come visit the library and browse. That's really huge for us. You've done what we've asked for, and it's such a refreshing perspective to be able to converse back and forth. This is what we're looking for, and have it come to life. It's really nice.
Great, perfect, thank you. So just to give you a little bit of overview of some of the things that we've seen over these past 6 months, and Jessica, feel free to chime in if there's anything that you see as I'm moving through here. It looks like we might have a question in the chat, so I'll take that real quick. Jessica, a question for you. Cindy is asking about cleaning protocol for the laptop. Have you all talked through that yet?
Yes, so we've purchased, they're kind of like keyboard sheaths, I would say. They fit right over the keyboard. They still are able to integrate the power cord, although using something like that in the car is probably not going to be plugged into a power source. But so they're able to just be cleaned with a Clorox wipe over the top of the sheath, or replacing the sheath entirely, depending on what it looks like, of course. Same with a mouse. If they ask for a mouse, there's a mouse in the bag with another little mouse sheath. I believe it was all purchased through Amazon, but I could get you some links if that's something you're looking for.
Perfect. And we will have information available both to Jessica and to us if there's any questions after this. So don't hesitate to reach out to either of us if there's any follow-up questions that take place beyond the webinar. And keep the questions coming in the chat too if there's other things that you'd like to ask. So early in the days of back in May, June, when we first started talking to our libraries and they were trying to manage curbside pickup, the number one thing that we were hearing is patrons were so eager to get back to being able to, first of all, return resources that they had, but also start to check out new items and pick things up again and get their kids reading and do all those kind of things that they needed to do through the summer. So probably the biggest thing that we heard from all of our initial partner libraries was we're just getting bombarded with phone calls. And I think, Jessica, that was something that you mentioned to us early on in the process. So we have some graphics here in terms of number of hours that have been saved through this. Can you speak a little bit maybe to that experience, how you were looking to alleviate that problem?
Absolutely. So when we were able to integrate the online scheduler, the web scheduler, into our website and able to give a link directly in our holds emails or in our overdue emails, you could schedule an appointment right away, right from your holds email saying, I'd like to come pick up more books. And that was huge for us, especially. We also appreciate the app because, as some people have experienced with TLC, the mobile app leaves a lot to be desired. And the integration of our catalog into the app is very slick. It's so nice to be able to see this is what's arrived. I want to make an appointment to pick up those things. And it's just saved a ton of staff time that way. If somebody calls in and says, are your libraries open yet? What can we do? We have a remote staff who's able to schedule everything online, and it doesn't even have to be transferred to the branch. And that's been really nice to have, for sure.
Great. So it's been kind of interesting because I think as libraries have had to make their adjustments and look for how they're going to continue to serve patrons through all of this, we've had to do that as well from a technology development standpoint. And obviously in that initial phase, being able to bring those curbside scheduling features, managing call-in orders, reducing some of that burden on staff was a big focus. As some libraries started to reopen in the summer, finding ways to reserve space for things like computer usage, printing services, resume services, meeting rooms, things like that became important. So we built that into the solution as well. Now, as people are starting to look beyond that, there's other things that we're being asked to bring, and that's kind of led to some new discussions in terms of a new evolution of myLIBRO in the coming year. We'll have more information on that soon, but really what it is, it's a complete response to what our libraries have asked for and what they've looked for. And it includes things like patron self-check. It includes things like connection to Overdrive and to other third-party apps to provide additional usage, easier usage. So everything that's being built into the solution is being done with the interest of making things easier on library staff and then also improving the patron experience. I know from what we've heard over and over again in our conversations, improving the patron experience hasn't always been maybe the first and foremost goal of every solution that's out there. So we really have tried to make that a big goal of ours. So we want to make this as easy as possible for you to implement so that you get the usage that you need and you get the patrons and the students happy with how things are going, even during difficult times like this. So just continuing to bring these evolutions, continuing to look to way to connect to every ILS system that's out there, regardless of your ILS, Libro can integrate. And then also to bring these features in a more of an a la carte situation to where we know not every library needs everything. So let's talk about what's important to you, what makes sense for you, and then be able to bring those in a package that makes the most sense to you, while also working with libraries in very difficult budget circumstances. We understand that. So all of those things have been things that have been taking place throughout the summer. And you just see a basic overview here of what myLIBRO does. the patron interface, the way that it can interact with smart speakers as well, so that from an ADA compliance standpoint, your patrons and students can interact with the library's catalog through a smart speaker. Several of these other capabilities of the app also exist within the smart speaker as well, like being able to check on upcoming events and programs, reserve space for those types of things, continuing to develop that voice technology while also improving the visual experience on the mobile app. And the biggest goal that I think we've had because of conversations that we've heard throughout this summer is that a lot of times when we reach out to a library, they'll say, we already have an app, or we have 3 apps, or we have 5 apps. And, obviously, I think people get tired of having to download an app for every single thing that they do within the library or anything else. And so making our solution more of an all-in-one solution where you can do multiple things from the same, whether it's scheduling for curbside, scheduling for in-library services, searching and reserving materials, managing your accounts, listening to a book on overdrive. We're working on some other implementations that are going to happen in the new year. Being able to self-check, being able to bring some additional features that we're including in our upcoming release in the new year. All of these types of things that can just help patrons make the experience better and increase usage for you as you go through these circumstances. Jessica, real quick question. I know one of the things we've heard a lot is having to, continuing to adjust and evolve the staff portal and finding ways to make this customizable. What's been your experience with and your staff with the portal and with ways that you can change things quickly on the fly? Can you just talk a little bit to that?
Sure. We love the portal. It's very easily used and customizable. We can change different days if we're going to be closed this day. If holidays coming up, we can take all of the appointments for that day out. We had 18 inches of snow and a power outage at several libraries last Friday. We were able to quickly take out all the slots and then see who had scheduled to come that day so we could call and let them know from another branch that things were down. So it's been really nice to be able to do that. We've also been able, with Sharmila and the team, to add sub-locations. So we've been trying to find where the people are, socially distanced, but still where the people are. It's looked like food banks, school lunch pickup spots, things like that. So we were able to add those as sub-locations very easily through the software, and we were able to meet people where they're already headed, which has been really nice.
Great, great. I'm going to jump out of this share real quickly and go over to our to a live version of our portal here. Share that. And so we're actually looking at King County Library System. We have everything from single branch libraries through several branches like Jessica and her team have to systems that have 50, 60, 70 branches. So on the front end, in terms of pickup, I always like to share this experience because I know libraries are looking for ways to get more usage, more engagement. They've actually brought what are called surprise bags now, and I've heard this from several libraries now, to where patrons can opt into bags that include some of their favorite reading materials. They may just say, I want an adult nonfiction bag, or I want an adult fiction bag, or a children's picture book bag. And they can schedule these pickups right into the regular pickups as well from a convenience standpoint. So from a patron usage standpoint, this is something I've heard that's a pretty innovative way to get people to check out more materials and look for other items that are out there. We have a question in the chat. Sublocations are a cool idea. Thanks for mentioning that. Perfect. Appreciate the feedback. Also, just from the, so this, what you're seeing here is the pickup portal queue. We also have the resource scheduling that's available. If you're booking for in-library appointments, you're able to pull up and check to see if, oh, that's right, King County's not open. I can switch over to a different view from that. But Jessica was talking about the ability to configure your locations and actually adjust. So for each branch location, you'll see all these different services that you can offer in. So in King County's case, they have pickup configuration and then all those surprise bags. Within that, you get to customize the entire process. So the instructions to the patrons, building in a notification system that, like Jessica mentioned, you can use if you have bad weather or you need to close the library for any other reason. All of that goes to the patrons both through in-app notifications, and most recently, we've brought push notification capability to the solution as well. So lots of ways for you to communicate with the patron and for them to communicate back with you. We'll jump back to our PowerPoint. So the third thing is part of our company, or a large part of our company, is actually a business intelligence platform too. So we work with companies in the supply chain to bring better insights to data. We're able to do that in the library space too. So I know, having worked for a couple other library companies, I know that it's not always easy to get reporting metrics to find out how your resources are being used and what's important. So we do bring dashboards that will show you a lot of different metrics. We don't record patron data for privacy concerns, but we do keep things like schedule counts and monitoring your counts by branch and things like that, so that you can look to see, you know, do I need to adjust my staffing? Do I need to adjust my pickup hours? How much is this resource being used? Things like that. Having those dashboards right at your ready are something that allow you to be able to monitor and adjust staffing as needed too. So just a couple of things, Jessica, but maybe one more question as we start to get towards the end, but just in terms of maybe what the plans are going forward. I know we talked a little bit about what you would like to see in from your library. It's hard to determine, you know, when things are going to open there, but are just there maybe any other overriding goals for 2021 that you are working towards, or that you're hoping you can get to maybe by the summertime next year?
And we're definitely hoping to open in some capacity, of course, but if not able to do that, at least having some of these tech options. The grab bags, we have integrated that as well, and it's been really wonderful. People just select the grab bag option and then type in what they're looking for, mysteries or family movies or whatever it is. That's been really nice as well. But going forward, we're just hoping to meet people where they are and get the access back as people are commuting through our library areas, or and respecting all the different types of patrons. For sure, people who want the limited access hours, or they just want curbside so they can mitigate some of that risk. To the people who walk up and knock on our doors, you know, hoping they can get in. So just trying to meet people where they are and be creative in that. Yeah.
Sure. Perfect. Great. Well, thank you. Any other questions that we can take in the chat? We would be happy to. In terms of reaching out to us, if there's other questions, we're always happy to have discussions with prospective libraries that may be looking for ways to improve their processes in the library, and we would love to talk to you. Feel free to reach out to us. And you can follow us on any of our channels. You can check in with us at myLIBRO.com to book a demo. But again, I think really the best thing that most of our libraries say is just having those initial discussions, finding out ways that this can best work for them, how they can alleviate some of the stress on their staff and make things easier for their students and patrons has really been an eye-opener. Jessica, anything else to add as we wrap up?
I would just like to say thank you to myLIBRO. I know that kind of sounds cheesy, but Sharmila and Gopi and Ganesh, they've all been really, really responsive and really wonderful to work with. And I just appreciate the listening to us. That's not every vendor, so I appreciate that.
Perfect. Thanks so much. We do have one more thing in the chat. Yeah, Cassandra just said learn more about us at mylibro.com, or feel free to reach out to us at info@mylibro.com. Other than that, thank you all very much, and we will be sending this recording out to everyone that was here today. Feel free to share that, and we really appreciate everyone's time.